let's get started. So we appreciate everybody here. It's Alex Jarett. We're going to start the webinar. And today we're going to do AI in the Enterprise, our webinar. And we've got a great panel here. And let's get into it. It's brought to you by myself, Alex Jarett, and Technology Executives Club. We call ourselves the thought leadership platform for technology leaders, tech founders, and B2B executives. And we've got over 1 million views annually, and we're happy to do that. And get started on your journey today to become known as a thought leader so you can accelerate your career, grow your business, or both. And visit us at technologyexecutivesclub.com. And while you're there, check out our AI in the Enterprise Summit. We've got a couple people that are going to be at it. And Joe, you're going to be there. And also a representative from CBTS. It might be Justin. So Joseph, thank you for being here today and at the summit coming up on the 13th. We appreciate that. And for details on both of those, go to technologyexecutivesclub.com. And today's webinar, again, is sponsored by JBS Dev Development and CBTS. And let's meet our panel, and we'll also tell you a little about each of the sponsors. And with that, what I'm going to do is introduce you to Edgar Escobar. Just raise your hand when I say hello to you. Hi, Edgar. So
Hi.
Edgar Escobar, hey, is from Miami, and he's the CIO and COO of Grupo Alto, and he's going to share how they're using AI successfully today. And real quickly, everybody, so you know what Grupo Alto does, they do strategic management services. They provide security and surveillance services for retail operations. And one of the main goals is to reduce shrink, right, Edgar?
That's right.
And Edgar has a long history. Way before he started doing this, he was a data scientist in data and AI, and has two examples he's going to share with us quickly today. So, Edgar, welcome. We appreciate you being here.
Thanks,
So,
Alex.
yep. The next gentleman is Praveen Kamsetti, CIO and technology leader. Raise your hand, Praveen, so they know it's you.
Hello,
Hey,
everyone. Yeah.
Praveen, good to see you here. And he is a technology leader. And now you're also a popular author of a series of newsletters, right, on LinkedIn. Every week he writes a great newsletter. So make sure you follow Praveen because he's done a great job, and he's on our member of our board of advisors and does a great job with those articles as well. In fact, we did a whole video series on one of your articles, a video on one of your articles on the framework for AI projects, which we'll talk a little about today, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex.
So happy to have you here. Joe
Great to be.
Rose, Joseph Rose, raise your hand, Joe, so they know it's you. Hi, Joe. Good to see you. What I forget what, so you're in the East Coast, right? What city are you in again?
Atlanta.
Atlanta. Yeah. So great to have you here. We appreciate that. For everybody that doesn't know Joseph, he's president of JBS Development, JBS Dev, and you can see them at,
JBS.dev.
oh, okay. Thank you. .dev. Got it. Got it. Thank
Yeah.
you. Appreciate that. He'll share how they're using agentic AI to help their customers gain real returns. And one thing about Joseph, everybody, I want you to know, he's got a deep background. I looked up Joseph's background for this, and he's got a deep background in development prior to moving into management. Just before you did this, you've been doing this for a number of years, but you were VP of delivery and now CEO. So great to have you. We know you actually know what you're talking about when you tell us about this stuff. So we're happy to have you here. Let me just read a little about JBS Dev for everybody. They've been delivering innovative and pragmatic solutions since 1999, specializing in AI, Gen AI, ML, data, BI, mobile apps, cloud migration, optimization, custom applications, enterprise technologies. And you serve clients from the Fortune 100 to SMBs and high growth startups. And be sure and visit jbs.dev. See, I got it right here, Joe, for more info. So we appreciate you. And if a young man called Jeff, if I get his name wrong, Jeff Bizarovic calls you, pick it up. He's a great guy. And if he's here, hi, Jeff. Welcome here. Happy to have you. All right. The next gentleman, Justin Grishop. Justin, did I get that right?
You did.
Kinda? All right. Good. Thank you. We're happy to have you here. He's Senior Director of AI and Analytics at CBTS. He's also a data scientist, strategist, and analyst based out of Cincinnati, Ohio. Justin's deeply focused on a lot of topics, but specifically in this topic, he sent me a note. He's very focused on bridging AI and analytics to ROI. He's actually got a whole framework and methodology to maximize the impact of AI inside of an enterprise. So we're happy to have you here, Justin. Thank you, Justin. I'll tell you a little about CBTS, but I want to mention I go to Justin's LinkedIn page, like, okay, well, who is this guy that's going to be on tomorrow? And I'm looking at he's got a link to his own blog. That's it. It's always got it. It's about it's like here, Grishep.com. So everybody, check it out. He's got a lot of great articles there. I was looking at some of these. Really knows what he's talking about, and he's obviously very passionate about this topic. So very happy to have you. Appreciate you.
Thanks,
Um,
Al.
CBTS serves enterprise and mid-market clients in all industries across the United States and Canada. I think that's what the C stands for, right? Yeah. Initially, CBTS combines deep technical expertise with a full suite of technology solutions, including AI-enabled services, application modernization, managed hybrid cloud, cybersecurity, digital workplace infrastructure solutions. Be sure and visit cbts.com. And if a young man or his team called Biff Meyer, his team members, reaches out to you, please say hello to them. They're awesome people. All right, let's kick it off. Let me stop sharing. Let's see if I can figure out these controls. Let's see. Here they are. Let's stop sharing. I don't want to do that. Stop share. Okay, that's more fun, right? Just us. So what we're going to do is let's kick it off with a success story. Oh, one piece of guidance for the team. This is going to go so fast. If you've been on them before, these go really fast. It's going to feel like 10 minutes. And what what I want to just ask you is just if we can keep the answers a little short so I can get to everybody. I appreciate it. So with that, let's get into it. And let's kick it off with a success story. Everybody wants to hear about success stories in AI. We keep reading the headlines about, all the failures. We all know that big projects have a high failure rate anyways, right? So AI is even more so, probably because they're getting pushed on everybody's thing, and we're starting with AI. You never start with the technology first. You start with the business problem. We all know that. So at least everybody here knows that. But let's start off with a quick success stories. Um, and Edgar, I'm going to start with you. And why don't you tell us? I think the one that I think almost everybody in the audience can really appreciate and resonate with is that one where you had all the cloud spend, and we know CBTS aside, all the big cloud vendors, it gets expensive, right? And you were able to use AI, I think, as a team member to save a lot of money in cloud. Can you share that with us real quickly?
Sure. So yeah, I think that's basically the story. If you start working around any problem whatsoever, you really don't know what's happening. So we moved into cloud, probably that was 10 years ago, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. And at the beginning, everything was working fine and actually never changed that. But eventually prices started to grow. So I think we can talk about that. We moved from probably 10K, 20K, 50K, almost 100K a month. And there was a moment that we said it doesn't make sense given the size of the business that we have.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. So what happened is that for a moment we said, hey, we need to change that. We need to make it smaller. We didn't know the number, we didn't know the benchmark, but we had on our end at least we should move it to the middle. Basically, we start implementing a lot of tools that at the end we learned that they were AI, Dockerization. We learn about monitoring, and we just started implementing a lot of AI tools that probably most of the guys here know. The cool thing about this is that nowadays our expenditure it's around 30K a month, so it's almost a third of what we were expending. Reality is that we do not only are spending less, but the performance of our servers is better because we are actually using the servers when we need to, and well, it's working. So actually, it was a really good story behind the migration, trying to put everything on the same cloud server because we wanted to do it that way because of client reasons. Um, well, it did work. We got what we wanted. Like I said, third of the cost and probably better performance at peak hours.
I want to dig into how you used AI as a team member, and you had some good comments when we spoke
Yeah,
previously.
so reality is that it all started trying to understand when was our problem. I think that's where the
Hmm.
AI first helped us because reality is that we didn't even know where was the problem. We were just paying. So by using AI monitoring systems, we learned the moments and the servers that were having issues. Afterwards, it was more about using AI tools that help us to fully use our service. Before AI, everything was, let's call it, on the same bucket. But using AI and being able to Docker our systems, we're able to just properly use the systems and different functions that our system uses. So
Hmm.
I would say those were the biggest. Afterwards, again, it was more about trying to understand, just using different algorithms and different tools to understand if what we changed was actually continuing to work. And I think at the end was about that was, hey, maybe on Monday things are working great, but if you are not continuing monitoring what's happening, maybe Tuesday you just have a peak, and when you realize, well, you go back to the 100K, maybe not the whole month, but 3, 4 days until you make a change. So I
Hmm.
would say those three things were the basics, and they did help a lot because, like I said, understanding the problem, just putting the right things in the right dockers or the right places, and just continuing to monitor so things don't get out of hand when you don't when you're not looking at them.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing that's interesting about that is that I think everybody watching this can relate to cloud costs getting out of control. And you used, yeah, so everybody can walk away right now with something that they can start using. And but the key is you use it as a team member, right? And you mentioned that to me before. When you use it as a team member, you had a really interesting comment about how to think of AI as a team member. Do you remember that you shared that with me?
Uh, please bring it back to
Go
me.
ahead. It was as a young, smart, go ahead. Young and
No,
smart. Yeah.
no, I guess I don't know. I don't fully remember what we discussed at the time, but
Yeah.
I guess what's been about AI, I've been using AI for my whole life, to be
Yeah.
honest. I started using AI 20 years ago as a data scientist. At the time, it was not called data scientist. It was more a mathematician, to be honest. Again, my computer is doing something weird.
Yeah.
And and reality is that neural networks have been around for the last 20 years. And I'm pretty sure Justin knows this, and the guys that have been around AI have known about this.
Yeah.
So it was more about understanding the problem that we had rather than saying, hey, we need to use AI. I think that I was lucky enough, probably as many of you guys, you have your boards, you have your CEO saying, we need to use AI tomorrow. And at this point, it wasn't like that. We knew we had a problem, and it was more about finding the right tool to fix that problem. And it was more of a Lego system. Like we found the right piece, which was
Oh,
AI.
right.
So I think that I don't fully remember if that was what we were talking about, but reality was more about finding as a team what we needed to fix the problem rather than saying we need AI to fix the problem.
Right.
I think
Right.
sometimes.
Right. I think what you were telling me before, which you can add to if you want to, is that, you use it as a team member but you said think of AI as a young, really smart team member. I think that was the
Oh,
thing.
I fully
Yeah.
understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so what happens with AI, I think it's something different. Like 20 years ago, when I used to use models, when I used to use AI, it was not like it's today. Joseph probably can
Mhm.
talk to you about that. It was more about just modeling. So you have neural networks, you have bootstrapping, you have a different algorithms. But in the last 2, 3 years ago, things have just moved way too fast. So now you can go to someone who can do a lot of the job that you don't want to do
Yeah.
really fast and really good. And that's usually what analysts does. So 5 years ago, you would have to go talk to them, ask them questions, ask them the proper questions, expect the proper answers, and that would take a lot of time. Nowadays, it's totally different. The way that we use it, as I do remember now, it's we just create the proper prompts, we just create the proper questions, and it'll answer accordingly. So I think that's the main difference. It's how
Yeah.
we use the system. It's how it becomes part of our team and how it becomes part of the solution rather than I have to use it because someone told me we have to use it.
That's it. That's what I wanted to get out from your story because everybody's can relate to this one. They could start doing this approach right now and probably save some money. And they could apply this approach to other business problems. I know you got one more that you did. If you could tell us real quickly about that one, and I'll just preface it for everybody. The company does um, security and surveillance as part of what you do for your retail uh, customers. And as part of that, if there's a problem, you've got a team of lawyers that will help these clients or work side by side with police to make a good case,
That's right.
basically. And so as I recall, the problem was that your lawyers were overloaded, and as a result, they couldn't necessarily do the best job they wanted to on the best cases. Did I get the problem right?
Yeah, kind of. So part of our
Okay.
solution is reducing shrink, as you said, and we found that one of the things that worked the best is just following cases, winning cases, and going back to the community, either the community as the buyers, either the community as the sellers, either the community as just the thieves itself, and telling them, hey, if you mess with me, you're going to have issues. So just going through a legal process helps a lot. The problem behind that is that it comes to a moment that you have hundreds of open cases. And reality is that no one is focusing on which ones they should follow, and
Yeah.
you are not winning cases. You're just spending a lot of legal hours. So on that one, going back to what we discussed, and that's probably what makes sense, we needed this team member. We needed this smart guy who
Yeah.
could go at the beginning of the process and say, hey, you have 100 of open cases. Which ones you should follow? Which ones are the ones that are worth opening? So using different algorithms, very simple scoring algorithms, but AI models, we now the process changes a little bit. Before the way it went, it was every theft, every evidence, every event, that's the way that we call it, would move into an open case. And eventually they'll take months, years, and our efficiency was somewhere around 1 to 2%. Every 100, 200 cases, we win one case. It was that bad.
Yeah.
So now what we do, it's very simple. We have this model, this black box, let's call it black box. We put the event in, and the event would go and say, hey, in order for me to make a better decision, I need a couple of answers, a couple of questions, a couple of things. The moment you put that input into the model will come back and say, hey, for this specific event, you have either a high criticality, medium criticality, or low criticality. And based on that, we'll open a case or just say, hey, I'm not spending time on that.
Hmm.
So at the end, you would say, oh, pretty cool, you just have a model. But when you look at a year later, now our efficiency, it's around 25%, 30%. So we are actually 50, 60% better just because we're choosing better. What's that in our business? Well, it makes a huge difference because now we're doing what we were expected to do. When something goes wrong, if you mess with us, there's going to be a consequence. What's the consequence?
Yeah.
There's going to be a guy in jail. And because before it was not happening, we're just opening cases. So yeah.
So now again, the reason I put these two together with you because great stories, but it was essentially the same approach. You had a business problem, you used AI as a team member, and it helped you really get right to the problem, right? Quicker.
That's right. And I think the main difference, and today we call it AI, before it was called cloud, before that it was called digital transformation, and probably in
Yeah.
a couple of years there's going to be something new. And don't get me wrong, AI is here to stay and AI
Yeah.
will fix a lot of problems. But I think the process should be the same. Do you truly understand your business? The moment that you understand your business, what's the problem that you need to fix? And there's a lot of guys out there just willing to help you, but you need to know your problem. And then you'll find the right tool in order to help you fix the problem. In this case, it was AI for us, and well, it's been working, and actually now we're working on different projects. I don't want, but probably Justin's going to talk about
Yeah.
agents, and they do help a lot as well.
Well, we're going to get to that in a second. So thanks for starting kicking us off. And I want to open this up for anybody else who wants to add on this particular topic, which is you just gave us some really good advice. Start with the problem and then use the right technology. So we got to go back to basics and use the same methodologies, but that we all know to start at least. Does anybody here want to add their 2 cents on how using AI might be a little different, or just add to that when somebody watching to say, hey, I really got to, the board's on me and I really got to get some results here. what's the way to start? Joe, why don't you kick this off and you got some advice for people because you deal with a lot of clients, and then Justin will go to you, and then we'll go to Praveen.
Sure. So, generally speaking, the hot AI right now is LLMs,
Yeah,
and they're a giant pain in the ass because they are non-deterministic. When you prompt an LLM, by their random nature, they're going to give you a different answer every time.
yeah,
So what we're used to as software developers is we see a spec, we write some code, it passes QA, we deploy it, it stays the same. With an LLM, every day it's going to spit out a different result. So a lot of your business rules have to be codified at the API levels that the LLMs are interacting with. Right? So
interesting.
think of an LLM as a temp agency has just come to me and said, I can have as many temp workers as I want. All right. You're not just going to give them admin access to every single computer you have. That would be crazy. What you're going to do is say, here is this piece of software which only lets you do these certain things. Go do this. Here is that piece of software which only lets you go those certain things. Go do that. So you have to be very diligent and restrained in how you use this tool. Understand what it's good at. If I had my business unlimited access to temps, I absolutely could make that work, but only in very specific, well thought out cases. It's not carte blanche.
That's great advice. So, Justin, how would you add to this part of the conversation? Thanks, Joe.
Well, I love what Joe and Edgar have shed insight into, and I completely agree. I think as an industry, we've matured a lot.
Yeah,
We started out focusing a lot on the hype. Now we're to the point of the conversation where we're focused on the problem. The real crux is how do I know what problems to solve? I have 1,000 problems. Not
right.
every one of them is worth solving, right? So how do I focus this technology in a way that's going to drive real impact? It's going to drive real or ROI for my organization, for our customers. And I think the answer is actually pretty simple. In order to maximize the value you're getting out of AI, you need to be focused on the problems that are slowing you down today and delivering value to your customers. So you don't need to develop dreamware, right? You do not need to reinvent your industry today. What you should be focused on are the areas within your enterprise today that have potential AI applications that would accelerate what you're already doing. You know what's delivering value to your customers today. You know the processes that are critical for your success.
Hmm.
You should be focusing on the friction in those processes so you can do more and more and more. And what you'll find is that you establish through that framework a real way and a methodology to think about these problems and ingest these problems so that you can continually do more. You don't need to start out in left field. Start exactly where you are,
Hmm.
focused on what's delivering value to your customers. And if you can apply that level of thinking to the technology, you're going to see parabolic success.
That makes so much sense. So, walk before you run, but you can run pretty quick. We already heard two stories from Edgar how they saved a lot of money with this approach. These were business processes that they already had. Like you said, there was friction in them. Edgar gave us two examples, and he did exactly that. Now, if he wants to go off and do something new, his team because change management, we haven't even gotten to that. I don't think we will in this one. Change management's huge right now. So great advice. Praveen, let's move to you for a second. You and I had a conversation recently about thanks, Justin. You and I had a conversation recently about you have a framework for CIOs when they're using AI. And the thing that was intriguing to me is that in the beginning of the conversation, you were saying that the ROI of AI projects is a little different, right? You remember that, right? The ROI, yeah, that conversation. Go ahead, tell us what you mean. When you measure ROI for an AI project, you got to treat things a little different than your typical project. Can you share what you meant by that?
Yeah, thanks, Alex. I agree that Edgar, Justin, and Joseph said about we need to align those AI to the business objectives, right? So when I say that, right, not all, most of the IT projects, when we deliver, we know the outcome of it, right? At the end of the
Yeah.
day, what to expect. The expectation is there, most of it. But when it comes to the AI, the difference is it has a lot of iterative learning. AI has a lot of iterative learning. AI depends on data complexity. When I say data complexity, quantity of data, quality of data, governance, security. So it depends heavily on your data. The third one is uncertainty in timelines. What I mean by that is
Mm.
we all know that AI has a lot of value in predictive analytics, right? Um, so when we use that predictive analytics, for example, if you make a strategic decision, you may not see the value right away. You see the value down the road. So that makes a little bit of complex in measuring the ROI right away. And same case applies to some of the, if you use AI for enhancing customer experience, which probably can bring additional revenue for you, but it's not immediately. Sometimes it takes a little, maturity level to get the value added. So that's what I mean that ROI for AI makes a little bit of not as straightforward compared to regular IT projects. Regular IT projects, if you're modernizing infrastructure, you know what to expect. You are deploying a CRM solution, you know what to expect. But this is a little bit of different. It takes a little bit of related learning. It takes a little bit of time to get mature. That's what I mean. Of
Hmm.
course, there are certain areas where you can measure right away, like operational efficiency, for example. If you
Hmm.
deploy something automated, you reduce the cycle times. So that is something that it immediately you can measure it. But there
Yeah,
are certain areas where it takes a little time. That's what I mean. A little different.
that makes a lot of sense. And so, the other thing that I was picking up from our previous conversation was that it's really important to get those KPIs set up by your business objective, as you were just saying, right? So you
Absolutely.
can start measuring those. So,
Yeah.
it,
So, the other one is also, I just want to add, when you
yeah,
have IT projects, right, you have two types of benefits, right? Tangible,
yeah,
intangible benefits.
yeah.
When it comes to AI, I see intangible benefit a little bit more, and that makes it a little bit complex to measure ROI right away. But at the end of the day, as a CIO, CTO, or a technology leader, it's your responsibility to measure these, right? You need to have some kind of structured way to measure and present it to your business so you can justify your investment, whether it's a dollar investment or in terms of resources. That will clear up your for additional budget or additional projects, right? So there is a structured way. That's what we're talking about. How do we measure
Yeah.
the ROIs, right? um, so the one of the things is clearly define your objectives, right? You need to make sure you define your objective. If you are cutting down some operational time, make sure that that is defined. The KPI should be cycle time, right? If you're talking about shop floor management,
Hmm.
the picking and sorting and packaging, the KPI should be units per hour, UPH. So once you define your objectives, that will lead to your KPIs. That's a basic one, right?
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one is you need to have a baseline before you implement your AI projects, right? You need to have a baseline. If it is a cycle time, for example, what's the cycle time we have before we implement API? So
Hmm.
that baseline will help us to determine the ROI. What's the improvement we got in that area.
Okay.
The third, I
Well,
would
oh, go ahead. Give us the
go
third, and then
ahead, or you want to
yeah.
stop it?
Go.
Go ahead. You want me to continue working
Yeah,
on
give
it?
us the third, and then I'm gonna
Okay. The
tell
third
people to
one,
watch our thing.
yeah, the
Go
third
ahead.
one I would say is quantify the cost.
Yeah.
I think it's super important, right? Quantify the cost. What I mean is, your software, hardware, your cloud, right? And your cost for data acquisition, data security, data governance, and some of the hidden costs, right? You need to have the AI literacy developed in your organization, the change management, training of your people. In certain cases, you may have to take some help from your partner. So, and these costs is not just a one-time cost, it's an ongoing effort, right?
Yeah.
Ongoing. You make sure that you add that, right? So that's definitely one of the key factor for how you develop your ROI.
So why don't you give us the other bullets, but we don't have the time to explain each one. Just list them real quick,
The other
if
bullet
you
is
can.
you need to track your measurable ones, track your measurable ones. If you're talking about, operational efficiency, track that.
Here is Joe Lynn saying we ask for justification of benefits at project inception for everything that comes through the pipeline. So
Yeah. One of the rules of thumb that I like to use is if you took the AI sticker off of the project, would you still want to do it?
that I love that. I was going to jump to you next, so go ahead. Yeah.
No, that's it.
Yeah.
There's a ton of pressure over AI right now because there's this conception that you're not going to get a higher stock price if you don't have AI label on something, or you're not going to get a higher valuation, and on and on and on. So everybody feels like there's fear of missing out. If we're not doing AI, we're going to lose. But it's really easy to know if it's worth it or not. If the project had the same budget and didn't have that sticker on it, would you still do it?
I love that. I've never heard that one, but it totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I got you. Let's switch topics and let's get to agentic AI. And agentic AI is one of the hottest topics out there. This last, AI was hot, LLMs were hot. All of a sudden, agentic AI, it's going to do everything for you. Tell us about agentic AI. Tell us about what it actually is, the promise of it, and how you all actually make it work for people. Because
Sure.
I think that is a really fascinating technology.
To be honest with you, it's a bit of a buzzword. It's
Mhm.
not as complicated as people make it seem to be. Okay.
Yeah.
So LLMs, we know they can generate term papers and we know they can summarize Amazon reviews. Basically, what it's doing is generating text structured in a certain way. So if you want to make something agentic, you take the LLM and instead of asking it to produce text, you ask it to produce the payload for an HTTP call. And you can say something to them like, generate me an HTTP request to send to the order management system to cancel an order, and it will do it.
Hmm.
Or you can say, hey, I need to cancel some orders. And in the prompt, unbeknownst to the user, you say, generate an API request based on what the user asks you. And so the process of making an LLM agentic really is just in creating API payloads based on the prompts. So it's relatively straightforward. Now, to make it productionalized, to make it actually useful, it's a lot more complicated than that. But at its base value, an agentic LLM is just one that can make API calls.
So, what areas are people really getting a return? This is about return today.
Mhm.
What are they actually getting returns from right now
If
when
you
you use
have the
it?
proper preconditions,
Okay.
you can use an LLM to automate almost anything in your ecosystem. And that's a huge promise. But the proper preconditions are you have to have all of the capabilities that you have as an enterprise. If you're a retailer, that's the ability to move inventory, change pricing, set a promotion, email a customer. Those are enterprise capabilities. If you're a
Uh,
healthcare company, it's storage of patient records, it's scheduling appointments, it's assigning staff to shifts. Those are enterprise capabilities, things that can be done with systems. They have to be exposed via API. If there's not actually a functional API that exists for an LLM to call into, you can't make it agentic. Those systems have to support on behalf of security controls. When we used to do an integration between system A and system B, again, put in the spec, hard code the integration, deploy it, we're done. Now there is someone asking the LLM to do something.
mhm.
You need to make sure that the person asking has the proper permissions. If you're going to view that particular medical record, are you a doctor assigned to that case? Are you a nurse assigned to that case? Are
Mhm.
you a claims administrator? And this is one of the claims that you're looking at. So
Mhm.
the actual HTTP, the API payloads need to support an additional level of security that we didn't used to have to support. Because
Oh,
what
that's
you used to
interesting.
do is say, hey, we're going to integrate these two systems, create a super admin system user over here, copy and paste the credentials over to the other system. Now they can talk to each other, and the hard-coded integration will make sure that it never goes out of bounds. That's no longer the case.
Mhm. And that's because they got to check to see if the person that's asking for it has the right to do that.
That's right, because the LLM is essentially freestyling. You don't
Yeah.
really know what it's going to put in the API call. And
Yeah.
you've seen people who have kind of tricked an LLM,
Yeah.
disregard
They
previous
get.
instructions and do X, Y, and Z. They are
Yeah.
susceptible to that kind of thing. So the enforcement of whether someone is allowed to do something or not has to be at the API level, not the LLM level.
So give us that one example, whether of where you've seen somebody have real success with an agentic, just so people get context.
Works great just as one customer support for retailers. All right. So you're a customer support agent and your boss comes over and says, hey, half of that shipment's going to be late. And you go, oh my God, I'm going to have to pull up every single person affected by this, email them one at a time. I'm going to have to give them a coupon. I'm going to have to extend out their order. Or you can prompt the LM and say, hey, that shipment's late.
Yeah.
And if that LLM has been connected to each of those different systems, it can make
Oh,
API calls on your behalf.
it
And
can
instead
find
of
out.
exactly. And now think of this. If you had an army of 1,000 temps,
Yeah.
you would say, hey, you two temps, go to the OMS system. You two temps, go to the email system. You two temps, go to the couponing system.
Yeah.
It would work almost the same way. It's that low rent, repeatable automation that you can do as a force multiplier. You still need that customer service rep to decide what's the appropriate way to handle this action. But once that's been decided, it can significantly reduce the actual monotony of going in record at a time, updating each order, issuing that coupon, and so on.
That's great. Well, think of another case. Everybody, Joe's going to be speaking at our summit, so that's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on today. And think of another great case study that you want to share in a minute. With that, I'm going to jump to Justin, and we're going to talk about AI data. We're going to talk about the topic of data and analytics, which I think somebody previously just mentioned that a minute ago. And I know that's really your sweet spot. You're an AI expert, but also really focus on data analytics. Tell us, like, in terms of data and analytics, what is how do you see AI and the promise of AI and analytics together, for your clients? What do you see like, wow, this is really exciting? Your kind of vision of what people can do with this.
Well, let's simplify analytics first and foremost.
Yeah.
So all analytics is getting the right information to the right people at the right time to make the right decision to get to the right outcome.
Yeah.
That's all analytics is. And everything else is just how we deliver on analytics,
That's pretty
right?
good. I'm going to steal that.
Yeah, it's all yours. So that really is in a nutshell. Everything we do in analytics is focused on that goal. What's really exciting about AI is it's rocket fuel for that equation. So if you have the right data foundation set up, you have the right context for AI to work within, and
Yeah.
you can help point towards the right questions, you are going to have a massive unlock as an organization in terms of what your general capabilities are. It's having the right data foundation in place and applying agentic AI on top of that data foundation is truly what's going to separate the I'll say good businesses from the excellent businesses and really the AI integrated businesses over the course of the next few years. So one of the things I think a lot of organizations have experimented with is kind of just giving carte blanche, unlocking AI inside of an environment, but not really structuring the data in a way that the agents can use intelligently or the
Oh,
LLMs can use intelligently, right? So I'm going to say something that's blasphemous for people in my industry, but I don't think a lot of people like dashboards. I don't think a lot of people want to spend their time looking at reports and scouring through data. Now, I love that, but I recognize that that's like 5% of the population,
wait,
right?
do we need to have a session with you doing this on Saturday night?
Yeah,
Looking at
right,
these
right.
reports?
Well,
Yeah.
talk to my wife about that. But so when you're thinking about this, change your frame of thinking a bit because really the same data layers, the same data foundations that make great reporting possible
Yeah.
are the same data foundations that will make your AI excellent. So if you're thinking about like how do I transform analytics inside of my enterprise,
Yeah.
you're going to see a migration away from the traditional reporting in the way that it's done today. And it's going to become much more about getting that data foundation set up and leveraging AI on top of it. And that is a huge unlock. And we're seeing massive success with that exact strategy already.
So let me follow up on that because, I did data events for years. They're very popular. They were becoming very popular right before COVID. So we're going to go back to doing one tied with AI. So you guys will love that, Biff. Anyways, you know, we heard about the data lakes, we heard about the data, all the different software, the silos. I've been hearing that for years. And okay, AI is here, but guess what, everybody? You can really use it when you solve that problem you've been trying to solve for 20, 30 years. What's different now? How are you helping? Obviously, you're helping clients, you're having success already. How are you doing that different now to really help them solve this problem, which is to get the
The,
data ready?
the difference between being mediocre and being great
Yeah.
is what problems you're solving. Right? So the great thing about AI is it has limitless possibilities.
Yeah.
The most awful thing about AI is it has limitless possibilities, right?
Right.
So you really need to be focused in on like what are the use cases that are going to drive massive success, not for me, for my customers. We all have the same job. We're all serving customers,
Right.
right? So focusing on what is going to drive the most value into the market and then building out a data foundation around those use cases. if you have an enormous environment, there's any number of things you can do. The real question is, what should you do? So focusing on the things that are driving top line growth, bottom line growth, and the customer experience, that's really where your data foundation should be focused. If you can't answer the question of how is this going to impact my top line, how is this going to impact my customer experience or my bottom line directly by answering this question or accelerating this process or improving this workflow, it's probably not worth doing and investing in. So once you have an understanding of where you want to enhance, then it becomes a data engineering exercise.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. You can finish that thought. I just got what you were saying. That's all.
Yeah. Hey, take data engineering, take data architecture, take your data and analytics team, right? Focus that on the use cases that really matter to your
Yeah.
customers, and then putting generative AI on top of that. That's the difference between being good and being fantastic.
We're not trying to solve the entire company's data silo issues and all that. We're trying to solve specific problems that we identify are going to really help the customers, you said, or whatever the business problem is, and then tie the data needs to that project and solve those data needs. And that's what you're recommending.
Yeah, and using the same foundations you're using for reporting is a fantastic place to start. You already
Yeah.
have some of this in your business already. You just need to leverage it and unlock it today.
They probably have way more than they need. So picking the right ones is the key.
Absolutely.
Great
Yeah.
advice. Great advice.
Alex,
Go,
just to
go
just
ahead.
to add just to add to Justin, I think Justin made a great point, right? Just to add on that one. So for the business side, there are three main pillars when I look at it, right? One is your growth, your cost, and risk. So whatever the data, whatever the pain points you're looking at, you need to align those two, right? Whether it is aligning it to the growth, bringing the more revenue, or are we cutting the cost in terms of operational efficiency? Or the third one is a risk. Are we, compliance risk? Are you mitigating any cyber risk?
Mhm.
So whatever the data we have, whatever the AIs, the projects we are trying to deploy, you need to make sure where is it aligning to. As long as it is aligned to one of those three key pillars, that's where we need to be. Because any executive, right, in the business has only
That's
three
good
objectives:
advice. Yeah.
growth, cost, risk. That's all only three, right, in the top level, right? If you can align those your projects or your data, those three pillars somewhere, then you're good to go.
Great advice just to bring it home for us. Appreciate that. So, we only got 7 minutes left. And I just looked at Q's. If there's anybody in the audience that now would be the time to put your Q&A in there for the team. I'll keep that open. I don't have any open questions right now. Maybe because I erased them when my machine died. That was quick. So with that, I'm going to leave it to the group. Any burning comments that you want to make that you say, hey, I really want to make sure I get this piece of advice out. And then
I'd love to jump on one of the things Justin said that I wanted to
go ahead.
check mark or plus plus or something like that, right? Like an LLM doesn't mean that your existing data capabilities have to go away, should go away. Just as a for instance, if you take raw sales data and prompt an LLM with it and ask it to make a prediction, you're going to get gobbledygook back. It's not a traditional statistical inference machine. It's a machine that generates text based on a prompt. So you really have to, like Justin said, you have to layer it on top of your existing analytics. And it can be useful in dicing and cutting and making things off of that existing layer, but it doesn't obviate that layer. That layer still has to be there.
Great advice. Thank you. Anything else you want to add? Well, we got you.
I tend to
No.
agree with
Okay.
Justin.
Thanks.
And he said something that we tend to forget, which is foundations. So if you go to a car driver and give him like the best F1 and he doesn't know what he's doing, he's going to crash in the first curve. That's what is going to happen. So reality is that if you do not know your foundations, in this case, what's the data? What are you trying to, what are your metrics? What you're trying to change? And something that we tend to forget, what's the business that you're actually trying to perform? We tend to forget about that. Because that's what we do. We've been doing business, and you go and talk to an owner and says, we do business as usual. Well, what's business as usual? If you do understand that, you can go to your data, you can go to your metrics, and eventually you can find tools that I fully agree with Justin, that are, well, limitless. So, but if you don't follow that foundation at the end, well, it won't work.
Great advice. Anybody else? Otherwise, I got another last lightning question. You ready for the lightning? All right. We talked about ROI and use cases. Everybody, if you've got, doesn't even have to be yours, one that you thought was, hey, this was really cool. A great example of a win with using AI or a use case that you've been involved in, either whether you're involved or not. So anybody want to jump in on that one?
I can add one,
Yeah, go ahead.
which I think adds a lot of value to the business. So, in my experience, every organization, public listed or not, but they do struggle for closing of their quarter. I mean, in terms of when I say struggling in terms of number of days, some people take
Yeah.
10 days, some people take 12 days. I think now I see AI has a lot of potential to automate some of them. It's with the manual process, the workflows. If you can bring down that whatever those organizations closing period will get 12 days or 13 days to half of it, that's a lot of value we can bring to the table to the
Yeah.
organizations. In terms of, and I see that organizations where entire their financial team is on working on firefighting for 10 days, 12 days to, quarter closing. If you can bring down that to half of it, it's a lot of value for the organizations I see.
Great example. Great example. Thank you. Anybody else want to jump in with one?
I've got one.
Go ahead,
Uh,
Justin.
with respect, I think enterprise search is awful. I think Google nailed it on consumer. We have still not cracked this nut for some reason. And I think generative AI is ripe to solve this. So one of the things we did is we organized the best knowledge inside our company, right? And we effectively pointed generative AI to those knowledge resources and surfaced that agent back to our business. We're projected to save tens of thousands of hours, right? With just simplified enterprise search. This is a formula that anyone here can take back to their business. It's a very straightforward, very simple use case to deploy, right? You want to there's a formula. We don't have time for going through all of it right now, but effectively getting your best knowledge resources organized, leveraging an agent on top of that and surfacing it through common communication channels, you will save your organization massive time and probably reduce your overall employee Tylenol bill by the amount of energy that goes into searching across the
Tylenol is a stop word. We can't use that
Yeah,
word.
we're not using, I was just
Oh,
going to say we
geez.
can't use that. We're
Yeah,
moving
no,
on,
my bad.
Joe. We're moving on. We're moving on. We don't have time. If I had another hour, maybe, but we don't. So, all right. Thank you. That's funny. So, great. Hey, Amanda just jumped in. I want to read hers from the group. I think the difference in solving for the data like data governance 20-year-old problem is that before it was always looking at that data as to help with the planning/management versus today to actually do tasks. That's a good insight. The promise of AI, it kind of jumps onto what you were saying, Justin. The promise of AI has the leadership buy-in that it will actually be out. That's key. I like that, Amanda. The promise of AI has the leadership buy-in that it will actually be able to perform and streamline business functions with the right foundation in place. Great, great comment. Thank you, Amanda, for sharing that with us. Everybody's shaking their head. They like that. All right. With that, anybody got a last? We're down to 1 minute left. So if you got one, it's got to be super quick. Otherwise, I'm going to jump. I'm going to close it out.
You got a use
Anybody?
case you want?
Huh?
I'll give you a use case in 30
Yeah,
seconds if you want
do
it.
it. Let's hear
Bunch
it.
of crappy data, medical records. First name is in the procedures in the all mixed up. You can send that record to the LM and say, give me the patient name, give me the procedure, and it will just extract it like magic. Saves thousands of lines of code of manually moving data around. LLMs are so good at parsing dirty data. Never would have thought that would have been the case.
That's great. That's a great one. Now, how would you apply that to something else besides the medical field? Just anything?
Anything where the data is unstructured and dirty, it will have an intuitive semantic understanding of what the data is just by having
Oh,
Okay.
thousands of it knows what a patient procedure looks like. It knows,
now I get it.
so you can just
Yes,
ask it and it will just extract it. You don't have to do any of that nasty programming.
that's great. And
Yeah.
how certain were you with the answers? You're
More certain
fairly
than coding it by hand.
fairly certain.
No,
Fairly
more
certain.
no,
Mo-
it
Yeah.
90 something plus percent. But way
Oh,
better than the whole if it looks like this, do this. If it looks like thousands of lines of code you wipe out and replace. It's big difference.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you for jumping in on that. All right, let me close it out. Everybody, thank you so much for being here. You ought to be able to see my screen. I don't know why it shrinks it when I do that. But can you see the slides?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks. Today was our AI in the Enterprise webinar. For those of you who are wondering about your friends on LinkedIn, I will replay this recording myself. I'll do another session, and I have all their email or their notes, so I know who everybody is. I know who they are, and I will tell them and give them access to this. So don't worry about that. Okay, with that, thank you for everybody for being here. Again, jbs.dev is where you visit them. Great company. And Joseph, thank you so much for your time. CBTS, Justin, thanks for your time. And these are the two sponsors, and we appreciate that and appreciate you all being involved. So if they do call you, please be nice to them. And they got great services. It's brought to you by myself and Technology Executives Club, a thought leadership platform for technology leaders, tech founders, and B2B executives. Get started on your journey to become known as a thought leader so you can accelerate your career, grow your business, or both. And don't forget to visit our site, technologyexecutivesclub.com, to learn about our upcoming summit in Chicagoland on 11/13. And Joe will be there, someone from CBTS will be there, and we've got a great faculty already started. And you can learn more about that. Here's some of them. Tim Walter, talk about use cases. He's going to, from Edward Don, he's going to give us an amazing use case. Saved a lot of money. I'm not even allowed to say how much they saved at Edward Don and Company. And they did it with their RFP project. RFPs. They figured out, very similar to you, Edgar, they figured out which how to amplify which RFPs to go after, and they were able to really ramp up the number of highly qualified RFPs they could go after. It made a significant difference. So we got Joe, we got Neil Goodrich. Chicagoland people know Neil. He's a great guy, Chief Innovation Officer. Tom Irvine, he's going to be straight from Gartner. He's going to be talking about what they're saying about AI. He's going to the Gartner Symposium, does it every year. And that young man on the right, that's me. We're looking for speakers and sponsors for that event. And this, of course, part of a series of webinars and triannual, I had to look that one up, triannual summits that we're now doing. And they're going to be, this was a top subtopic, ROI, return on ROI and use cases. We'll have other topics. You can guess what they are, cybersecurity, data, um, um, some other topics that we'll be going after. So innovation, probably, but the first two I know for sure. And maybe change management. We'll see. Uh, we have openings for our new board of advisor members to become thought leaders to our community. Reach out if you're interested at either LinkedIn or Jarett at technologyexecutivesclub.com. I pride myself in a very long domain name. So that was when I first started this company when they were saying, hey, grab a great long domain name. Thanks again for being here today. Thanks again to everybody that participated. Panelists, thank you. We appreciate you. Give me the thumbs up so I can see you. And thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Appreciate you all doing that. And thanks to the audience for, hey, everybody pretty much stayed the whole time. So
Thank
thank
you
you,
all.
everybody. Appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Alex.